It's a good Friday morning, and thank you for joining us in KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. Developing this morning, President Donald Trump is giving Apple an ultimatum. In a social media post, Trump said the software and consumer electronics giant must make its iPhones in the U.S. or get hit with a 25% tariff. Last week, Trump said he was unhappy with Apple CEO Tim Cook's announcement that his company plans to make the phones at recently built plants in India. A Trump administration official said Cook and Trump met at the White House earlier this week, but the topic of their conversation was not divulged. Apple has not commented on Trump's demand. Happening right now, millions of people, and you may be one of them, are getting ready to travel for the holiday weekend. Whether you're driving or flying, it could be a record-setting travel weekend. Michelle Beck is at MSP.
Well, you caught us at a nice, quieter stretch, and more good news here on the flight tracker board. I can see that most flights are on time right now, minus just a couple of delays here. Now, you'll be among 18 million people who the TSA says will fly this long Memorial Day weekend. This holiday stretch will last till next Wednesday, so do be prepared for longer wait times. Remember, as of earlier this month, Real ID is now in effect. TSA reports back 93% of passengers are showing it at security, that is Real ID or another form of acceptable ID like a passport. And so, guys, with Memorial Day here with us now, it is officially summer travel season. TSA says to expect longer wait times in general from now till Labor Day. Back to you.
Michelle, thank you. We know the roads will be very crowded this weekend. Again, AAA predicts about 40 million Americans will take a road trip for the holiday weekend. They say noon to 8 today will be the worst times to be out driving. Then on Memorial Day, 4 to 7 p.m. is expected to be the busiest on the roads. And here's a look at what it will cost you to fill up. Here in Minnesota, it's going to cost, on average, $3.04 a gallon. If you're driving to Wisconsin, you're looking at about $3.05. And down in Iowa, a little bit cheaper, with the average there sitting just below $3. This weekend will mark 5 years since George Floyd was murdered by former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Starting at 10 a.m. today through Sunday, George Floyd Day of Remembrance events will begin. You can watch coverage of those on our newscasts and on our stream, which is available 24 hours a day by downloading the KARE 11 Plus app for your TV. Also, Janice Shortle will have a half-hour special reflecting on the 5 years that have passed since George Floyd's death. You can watch that at 6:30 Monday night and streaming right here on KARE 11 Plus. A U of M student is back home this morning after spending the last 2 months detained by ICE. KARE 11 was there yesterday as Doğukan Günaydın walked out of federal custody. A judge ordered the 28-year-old from Turkey to be released. He told reporters he's grateful for the support but troubled by what he called a clear violation of his constitutional rights and due process. Joe McCoy has a look at what he said and the latest on his case.
For the first time in 8 weeks, Doğukan Günaydın saw the sun as a free man.
It took 56 days to undo something that should not happen in the first place.
In late March, the 28-year-old U of M graduate student from Turkey was arrested and detained by ICE. The Department of Homeland Security said his detention stemmed from a 2023 misdemeanor drunk driving conviction. However, an immigration judge later terminated the deportation case, saying Günaydın's DWI conviction wasn't grounds for his detainment. DHS appealed and Günaydın stayed locked up in the Sherburne County Jail.
I am disappointed in the integrity of the system and individuals that allowed this to happen.
On Wednesday, a federal judge ordered Günaydın's release, saying his detention violates his procedural due process rights under the Fifth Amendment.
Even though he's out of custody, his removal proceedings aren't over. So his quote-unquote old deportation concept, the deportation case is still there.
Immigration attorney Nadia Roifi does not represent Günaydın, but she says his case and others against international students are deeply troubling, and many times the facts do not support the arrest.
If you're looking at this from the U.S. government's perspective, what sort of legal ground are they trying to stand on with some of these cases?
I think that's the mystery, Joseph. In the past, when we would see something from the government, some sort of an accusation, it would make a lot of sense. And if we didn't, we could pick up the phone and ask, why is this happening? And now, under the current administration, we're all left in the dark.
Yesterday, a federal judge in California also blocked the Trump administration from being able to arrest or detain students based on their legal status until their case is resolved. Previously, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the students being targeted were those involved in activities that run counter to national interests. Legislative leaders hope they can finish finalizing all their bills by the end of the day. They're meeting for a fourth straight day outside of the regular session to work on the budget in preparation for a special session. Yesterday, they tackled big issues like education and human services. So far, bills on commerce, jobs, transportation, and the environment are all either done or close to being done. Governor Walz says a special session could now start as early as next week. Former inmates at the Stillwater Prison are speaking out for the first time about the facility's controversial closure. They want the Department of Corrections to include them in the process because they say they understand the complexities inside of the prison. They also want to create a transition coalition to help establish safety protocols. Antonio Williams lived at the prison for about 2 years. He's now the founder of Tone Up, a re-entry organization. Williams says the prison is not a healthy place to live.
There was a level of freedom to a degree with having a culture where guards could see you as an individual, but there was also a level of just unsafetyness and unhealthiness just with the physical complex that we resided in.
Williams and other organizations will host a town hall in June to dive further into the impact of closing Stillwater. Well, it's a good news, bad news kind of morning for Minnesota sports fans. We're talking about the T-Wolves and the Frost. Let's start with the bad here. The Thunder rolling in Game 2 last night, halfway to a sweep in the Western Conference Finals. Things were looking good for the Wolves, though, in the first half, and looking especially good with 16 in the first half on 7 of 17 shooting. A Thunder up 58-50 at the break. And then the third quarter avalanche began. Former Minnehaha Academy star Chet Holmgren with a big slam. Thunder up 22 heading into the fourth. And then the Wolves never recovered from there. 118-103 the final. The Frost keeping hope alive in the PWHL finals, tying up the series with the Ottawa Charge last night. Down late in the third, Britta Curl saved the game with seconds to play. The fourth OT in a row for the Frost. And guess who? Curl once again for the game winner, Frost winning 2-1. So some crucial games this weekend at the X and Target Center. And that's where Audrey Russo is now. Both teams need that home crowd.
This is the moment when both the Timberwolves and the Frost need their fans the most. So both organizations are trying to stir up a little bit of fan excitement ahead of Saturday's games. Let's start off with the Timberwolves. The Western Conference Finals Game 3 tips off at Target Center here at 7:30. Tickets range from $150 to over $10,000. Leading up to game time, you can get a free soda or coffee at Quick Trip using the Timberwolves app. And using that same app, you can also get a free 8-piece chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. Then the team is doing a special t-shirt and merch giveaway at Maynard's and Excelsior. That starts at 7 o'clock and turns into a watch party at tip-off. Now the Frost are playing a little earlier in the day tomorrow. Their game starts at 4 o'clock at the XL Center. Doors open an hour earlier at 3. Plus, there's going to be a fan event, a pre-game event happening at Herbie's with a live DJ. That's right next door to the X. Back to you.
Well, big news developing in St. Paul this morning. For the first time in over a decade, Visit St. Paul has what it calls a strategic 3-year plan to revitalize the city and bring more foot traffic into the area. Now, one of the big goals here between now and 2027 is booking more conventions and big events to bring more people into the city. In the first 3 months of the year, the city says the XL Energy Center welcomed more than 1 million visitors. It gets about 2 million throughout the entire year.
Our numbers when it comes to a Wild game, our numbers when it comes to a Frost game or a concert downtown are pretty incredible.
Now, the city is looking to completely renovate the XL Energy Center, which is a 25-year-old building. That project is expected to cost more than $480 million. Kermit the Frog delivered a commencement address at the University of Maryland yesterday. During his speech, the very popular Muppet urged graduates to stay connected to each other and to their dreams. The large crowd gave Kermit a standing ovation as he took to the stage wearing traditional robes and delivered a speech filled with hope and encouragement.
It's important to stay connected to your loved ones, stay connected to your friends, and most of all, stay connected to your dreams. No matter how big, no matter how impossible they seem. The truth is, dreams are how we figure out where we want to go, and life is how we get there.
Stick with us, more news and weather coming up after the break.